A war is brewing in Gotham City between the House of the Cat and the House of the Bat. Who will be left standing? And how will the city itself be transformed by the conflict? Well, let's hop into the pages of Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War Battle Lines issue number 1, the kickoff to a brand new crossover event series, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we join this new story, we're introduced to a guy named Ronald. He's a professional henchman bouncing back and forth between some of Gotham's biggest supervillains, not because he wants to, but because it's the only way a man of his skill level and education can make ends meet and hopefully make a better life for his daughter, of whom he's a single parent of. Ronald's life ends up getting changed forever when he answers his window only to find a message delivered by Catwoman. The message reads, "No score is worth your life or anyone else's." Now from there we transition on over to Batman, who we discover has been in something of an 8-week coma as of recently, and I mean it only makes sense. He's jumped between crisis after crisis, red mask, failsafe, insomnia, and if that wasn't bad enough, the ever-growing threat of Batman of Zur-En-Awe. Once his backup personality in case his mind ever came under attack, now Zur-En-Awe is starting to exert more and more control over the Dark Knight. It's just one of the many reasons that Bruce feels like he's coming apart at the absolute seams right now, and in some cases he's very literally coming apart at the seams. Look at his brand new robot hand, him having lost his flesh and blood one in the multiverse. Never one to slow down or take a break though, Batman decides the only way he's going to feel normal again is getting up, getting into the costume, and getting back on the streets to see what's changed in the time he's been away. And it's only a matter of time before the Dark Knight ends up stumbling upon a daring museum robbery carried out by 2 more workaday henchmen. The type of poor schmucks who get beaten up by Batman so regularly he actually knows them by name. Bats flies into action to stop these dudes, and it should be very easy. Like I said, Batman beats these 2 guys up all the time, only here's the thing, their heist plan is actually way above their regular skill level, and they actually end up giving Batman the slip, a fact of which leaves him absolutely gobsmacked. But how exactly did these 2 losers get so good? Well, the answer is Catwoman helped them. In fact, she's helping a lot of henchmen better themselves right now, not only to become better thieves and robbers, but to also defend themselves when need be. She's got a whole school of crime set up right now, and henchmen from all over the city are coming in droves to sit under her learning tree, and why shouldn't they? Unlike the Joker and the Riddler, Catwoman doesn't fly into erratic rages and murder people on the spot for no reason. Also, hats off to the creative team on this one, but Selina's inner circle is made up of an absolute who's who of deep-cut Batman and Catwoman references. There's Lady Clayface, who I always like to see getting some love, Lydia Fritawa, also known as Fright. There's Vox, one of those faces you always see in the background of Arkham Asylum, but perhaps the most exciting and most unexpected one of all, Aiko. You'll remember her from the short-lived Genevieve Valentine Catwoman run. She was a Yakuza princess, was briefly Catwoman, and was also Selina's girlfriend, kind of, sort of. Needless to say, Selina is making huge moves in the Gotham City underworld, and everyone is starting to feel the effects. From there, we transition on over to Maxius Zeus, a Batman villain who just does not get enough play, trying to mess with the Gotham power grid. It's made all the more difficult, though, by the fact that Maxius only had 1 henchman show up to work today. Again, another poor schmuck that Robin Tim Drake actually knows by name, because he's been beating this guy up since he was in short pants. Robin makes short work of Zeus before having a wonderful reunion with Batman. Robin says that things have been weird on the streets of Gotham ever since Batman went into his little Rip Van Winkle-esque sleep, and that Maxius Zeus phoning it in here is just the tip of the iceberg. It's at that moment too Robin ends up getting a call from Oracle saying that Catwoman has asked for the entire Bat family, Batman included, to attend a meeting of the minds at the Kitty Cat Club, a former hangout for gangsters which Catwoman has recently taken over. You know it's a big important meeting too because a lot of Bat family members who writers often forget to give invites to, like Kate Kane Batwoman, and even Duke actually make it to this one. Why did Selina want everyone in attendance? Well, so she can finally come clean about her new plan to rescue Gotham from itself. If you couldn't already tell, Catwoman has been responsible for creating a henchman labor crisis. By teaching Gotham's henchman population to become independent master thieves, she's essentially robbed all of the big Batman bad guys of their personal muscle, which means no one's building their freeze rays or carrying their giant pennies. And because of that, violent crime in Gotham has fell a staggering 75%. Selina has also given her new acolytes a very ironclad rule to follow. No job is worth your life or anyone else's, meaning that there will be no violence, and that they will only steal from the ultra-rich, the sort of people who never work worked for their own money, have more than they need, and are almost certainly insured. Obviously, this is a major declaration, one of which causes the Bat family to have their own series of moral debates. Some are all for the idea, some think there needs to be more data, and then you have Batman in a scene that will almost certainly live as a meme long past this story's relevance. Just kind of shouts, but my mom and dad were rich. Yeah, this is kind of one of those Mark Millerian Civil War type stories where they actually end up giving the reader a pretty interesting philosophical and moral debate, but because this is a superhero story and drama needs to happen, characters end up acting out of character by being total dicks to each other. Now, in the story's credit, they do try and spin it that this isn't exactly Batman playing with a full deck right now. He's tired, Zernaw is messing with his mind. Likewise, Selina isn't doing all of this for strictly altruistic reasons. In fact, she seems to be doing it almost 100% to hurt Batman because of how their relationship had fallen apart. Mainly how they could never get married and never stay in love for long because it was never just Selina and Bruce in a relationship together, it was Selina, Bruce, and the mission. And so now Selina is turning the mission on its head by arguably doing more to stop crime in Gotham City in a shorter amount of time than Batman ever did. Even though admittedly she didn't really stop crime and criminality in Gotham, she just moved it somewhere else. Which, geez, I don't even know how I feel about that, Selina being painted as this really petty, jilted lover. Even Stephanie Brown, of all people, very astutely says that this whole situation just feels uncomfortable, like being stuck between mommy and daddy having a marital dispute. Things take another really interesting turn too when Red Hood actually follows Catwoman back to her home. You think for a second there that maybe Red Hood is going to do what Batman never could and stop Selina at the source. But actually, after he dukes it out with some of her hench people, Jason changes his tune entirely and basically says that he wants to join Catwoman in this brand new crusade. And really, when you stop and think about it, why shouldn't he? Red Hood has basically tried several different variations on the whole let's try and control and direct crime in Gotham City himself to no avail. And hell, he did that through violence, murder, and intimidation. Selina's already doing better and she hasn't actually had to kill anyone yet. Also, I only noticed this now as I dig in. Jason decided to pull out one of his old costumes for the day, I guess. Now, after that very stressful meeting, Batman ends up seeing the bat signal up in the sky and as such touches down to have another meeting with Commissioner Renee Montoya. And yeah, I know, I'm always surprised to figure out she's still Commissioner, because it seems like no writer really wants to use her as a supporting character in their stories, which is a real shame. It's through Montoya that Batman learned that a bunch of those supervillains who are now making up Catwoman's inner circle were actually broken out of prison by Selina herself. Montoya wants Batman to give up Selina's location, but Batman won't do it, which ends up kind of poisoning their relationship. As Montoya puts it, she's not like Gordon, she actually likes doing her job, and isn't going to just let Batman and the Bat family run roughshod over the city unless he's willing to agree to some more quid pro quo. Again, Montoya feeling a little out of character in this one too to try and create more drama. We pull back from this scene too and realize that the Riddler has actually been spying on Batman and the Commissioner this whole time. Riddler, like the others, doesn't have any henchmen to do his bidding anymore, and because of that, is starting to reassess his place in Gotham City. If he can't do crimes anymore, and if Batman is at odds with the police commissioner, then maybe he can actually make himself useful to Batman for a change. Which, I mean, I guess is one way to make yourself feel superior to Batman if he needs to actually come to you for help. If these all feel like setups that are going to be explored in the dozen or so Gotham War tie-ins coming in the next few months, the answer is because they totally are. Now, after getting royally chewed out by just about everyone in his life, Batman decides to go to the top of a tall church tower so he can get his classic brood on. Selina doesn't understand, my Bat family doesn't understand, they play parts. They wear costumes, but don't they understand I'm Batman all the time, and Batman can never turn a blind eye to crime no matter what. Well, except for maybe stock crime and fraud and general white-collar crime, because that stuff just isn't really interesting to show in a comic, is it? It's at that moment too, Batman ends up hearing police sirens in the distance. He shows up just in time to see the cops have set up an entire crime scene. Apparently, one of Catwoman's brand new cat burglars tried to rob a chemical company heiress, only to be shot and killed by said heiress when the robbery went horribly wrong. This robber turns out to be none other than Roland, the guy we met at the very beginning of the book. He's now dead, meaning his poor daughter is an orphan, and hey, wouldn't you know it, the whole orphan thing really ends up striking a major nerve for Batman. Before he was conflicted, but now he's more dedicated than ever to war against Catwoman and her brand new Gotham order. Though perhaps this idea is not 100% Batman's own, as we see the Batman of Zur-En-All once again exert his own control as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Batman Catwoman Gotham War Battle Lines issue number 1, everybody, and as far as a kickoff to a new event story goes, this is certainly interesting. I do have my reservations, though. This does seem to be one of those heroes versus heroes stories, and whenever you're telling one of those, characters always kinda have to be written a little out of character as to help facilitate the drama, as I mentioned. For what it's worth, though, it does seem to be mostly even-handed here in the first issue, with both Batman and Catwoman making pretty solid arguments for why they're doing what they're doing, even if the subtle undercurrent to the whole thing is that they're having a lover spat, and because of that, the whole of Gotham City has to suffer. Also, while I'm certainly a fan of superhero stories, especially Batman stories, wherein a character asks why he doesn't do more to actually deal with the root causes of crime and criminality and recidivism, I know that at the end of the day, those stories are always playing with fire, because unless you pull it off absolutely perfectly, the hero ends up looking like a total dickhead, and it just kind of ends up revealing the fact that Batman can't possibly end all crime in Gotham City because this is sequential media. We need a Batman story next week, which means crime can never be stopped. I will say, though, one issue in, and I certainly enjoyed this more than Night Terrors, and I hope it can keep that momentum going forward. Overall, I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way, everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.